Okay, so the initial part of this process that I'm going to go through, this is something I do. It's an advanced technique. It's not something that the average person needs to do, but when you get into the advanced aero building stage, it's I highly recommend it. I'm just going to find the backbone of this shaft. And the way we go about doing this, let's go ahead and throw some weight on. And I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this is basically going to tell us what the spine is on these arrows. And what I do is we just slowly turn this shaft, and you can see how it's getting a little lighter in spine. And then all of a sudden it starts getting stiffer again. Well, when we reach that stiff spot, which is right there, that's the stiffest part of the spine, or what I call the backbone, stiffest part of the arrow. What I'll do is I'll just take a little Sharpie and I'll mark the top of that shaft, and that way when I'm done with the cutting and getting ready to fletch, that backbone area is where I'm going to put my cock vein, or your off-colored vein. That way you have the stiffest part of every shaft in the same spot every time. Unbelievable for accuracy again. If you don't have a spine tester, not willing to put the money into it, I absolutely understand. Call somebody, specifically Jerry at South Shore Archery. He offers this service. He will spine test them, he'll make sure that they're grouped correctly, he'll find the backbone, he'll index the nocks, he puts your cock vein in the same spot. Unbelievable service. Give Jerry a call, he'll definitely help you out with your shafts. So the next part, we're going to move outside and I'm going to cut the shaft real quick. Hey guys, welcome to my incredibly messy garage. We're going to go ahead and cut these shafts. Today I'm using the Apple Arrow Saw, really good saw. One of the things you need to take into account anytime you're using an arrow saw, this blade guard right here needs to be adjusted out so that the blade is cutting just inside the diameter of the shaft. If you have that blade sticking out too far when you go to cut, the problem is that the end of your shaft isn't going to be real square. So you'll end up using a heck of a lot more time using your squaring devices and having to run through squaring up these ends. So if you just take the time and adjust this guard so that it just goes to the inside of the inner diameter of the shaft when you cut it, big money. Another one also, when you get these Nextra shafts, if you decide to use these, they come with a reinforced tip. Make sure that you're cutting the knock end, not the end that's reinforced. If you cut this end, you basically destroyed the entire arrow, because these come bored out because of the way that it's constructed inside. But I just want to show you real quick. I've got this set up to cut at 28, right at 28.5 inches with the knock on it. So real easy to use, unbelievably simple process. Turn your saw on, you'll put the tip in there, slide it in, give her a good spin. So here we go. Put it in and slowly rotate that shaft. Bada boom, bada bang. So you can see, cut them both. Still have my markings for the ends of where the spine is on this shaft. We're good to go. Now we'll move back inside and get some cleanup and some fletching. Okay, the next step in the process is to go ahead and square both ends of your arrow. Again, using the Fast Tool by Luminoc, Burt Coyote. You can see that this has 2 V notches in it, and then there's an abrasive pad at the end. And the way you use this, techniques again, I take a silver Sharpie and I actually paint the very ends of the arrow. just the edges. And hopefully you can see, you got the silver Sharpie on it. And what that does, when you use this tool, and again, very, very simple, put it in the V-Nox, hold it down, and then just spin your shaft against the abrasive pad. Give it a few turns, pull it out and take a look. And you can see I've got all but a tiny little niche in there where the Sharpie is gone. I put it back in, give it a couple more turns, take a look. All of the silver is gone, which means that that end is completely flush. Get the other end. Couple quick turns. Take a look. Still got a little bit of Sharpie on there. Just a tiny bit around that outer edge. And one thing that you may end up having to do, and I do this quite often actually just because I'm anal about it, is to clean off that little abrasive pad real quick, because you're going to get a buildup of carbon on there. And as you can see, all the silver is gone off the end. Both those ends are flush. We'll get them. I'll get the other one done up real quick. Then we'll clean them up and we'll get ready for the next step in the process. Okay, so we've cleaned off our shafts. We've given them plenty of time for the alcohol to dry out. Going to go ahead and install the Nox on these. Now with the Nextra arrows, right now they're coming with an aluminum knock that's pretty heavy, but I talked to Rick, the owner of the company. They're actually going to be making these in plastic, and that'll be coming out here right shortly. But very, very interesting because of the setup of these arrows. With the way that they've constructed them on the inside, there's two tubes that are connected by carbon posts in there. Very, very sturdy arrow. Well, in order to make that knock fit, it's just a regular post with a flat end. But the nice thing is, when you get these things in here, you have got both the inner and the outer tubes flush up against the back end of this knock. Very nice. I really like the way that these are set up. And I think it helps with the speed aspect and also with oscillation of the arrow as it comes off the bow. Great for energy transfers. So again, just going to install those Nox real quick. And then let's get setting these up. Like I say, I'm using the Bittenberger jig. I'm going to be doing a 3-fletch on it. Now the important part is when you put this into your jig, ensuring that that area that you have marked is up to accept the cock vane instead of just kind of willy-nilly in there. And the way I do that, yes, there's a much better way, but this is just easy for me. I put it in and I spin the shaft until I've got that mark right where my cock vane will go. So that's set and ready to go. Again, we're going to be using Zing Primer, VT1000 cement, and I've got, this is my squeegee, and I use this to apply the glue. Got that tip from, once again, Jerry at South Shore. Guy's just an absolute guru, love him to death. So let's get our vanes out. We're going to be doing 2 arrows. Well, actually, I'll just do one right now. Get your vanes out, and here's what I do. This primer has a cute little paintbrush on it, and you just want to coat the inside of that vane, not super thick, but make sure you get it on there, and leave these things to dry. Now your drying time is literally a matter of seconds. I give it, I give it a good couple minutes just to make sure they're completely dry. But the thing is, and this is on the side of the bottle, make sure that you only prime enough of the vanes that you're going to use in a 30-minute period. I don't know why, but that's what it says. So I do 3, 4, 5, 6 vanes at a time, depending on how many arrows I'm going to do, and then let them dry. But as you can see, well, you can't see, but this is already dry, so it's ready to go. So what I'll do is take my Bitzenberger jig, and I set all of these jigs have a bunch of index markings here. I personally always use the very base of the vane right to the second index. Adjust it for however you like to do it, but that's the way I do it. Take our glue, little BT1000, and I take just a little drop right at the beginning, one in the middle. This is just a card out of a magazine, one of those stupid advertisement things that we all hate to see. Just take that right up against the base of the vane and squeegee it all the way down. Take a look at your vane, make sure you've got plenty of glue in there. Put it in the jig. Pop it up against that shaft, and I hold it down for 10 seconds. Hold the clamp, spin it. Now you can see I've got great adhesion, and because I did the little squeegee deal, there's not an excess of glue laying all around on the sides of the shaft. If there is, get yourself a Q-tip, clean that up, you're good to go. Again, same thing, put your vane in. Just a little dot of glue on there. Squeegee it down. Pop it in the jig. Ten seconds. Pop it off. Give her a good rotate. Last vane. And that funny noise in the background was my cell phone going off. I've obviously got a text message, and it's probably Reno 2XR. We tend to talk about bows all day long. I can't because I don't work. He works. But he still finds time to BS about our favorite sport, archery. As you apply this vane, you can look at the base of it and you'll actually see where the glue is pressing down against the shaft. And it'll help you to know if you've got good pressure and good adhesion all the way down that shaft. 10 seconds, there we go. Perfectly fletched, great shape, good looking arrow. I will prop her up in a corner and let those fletchings dry for a while. That's it. Real basic, real easy. Piece of cake. Anybody can do it. I highly recommend it. Cost you a little bit of money to get set up in the beginning, but hey, it just adds another little bit of pleasure to our sport. If you've got any questions, remember you can look me up on archeryaddicts.com, DOA guide, and PM me any questions you have. I'll feel free to answer them. So that's it.